Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. For any hockey player that has been either talented or fortunate enough to play in the best league in the world, there is no fonder memory for them than their NHL debut. Whether it's putting on the jersey for the first time, skating around the rink by yourself before the rest of the team eventually joins you, hearing the thousands of fans in attendance cheering your name, or perhaps even scoring your first goal or registering your first assist, what goes down in the following 60 minutes of play will last a lifetime in a debuting player's memory. Some players will find themselves in the league straight after being drafted or being signed as a free agent, whilst others have to be patient and bide their time in the minors for years and years before getting their chance to show that they belong in the bigs. However, no player has had to wait for his chance in the spotlight as long as this man. This is the story of Connie Madigan, the oldest player to debut in the NHL. In order to tell this incredible tale, allow me to take you back to the 1960s, where defenseman Connie Madigan was beginning to make a name for himself in the minor leagues. Madigan first put himself on the minor hockey map when he began his pro career with the Fort Wayne Komets of the International Hockey League. Madigan would play 3 seasons with the Komets and score 94 points in 125 games before joining the Portland Buckaroos of the Senior Western Hockey League. This Canadian defenseman would end up spending the majority of his career in the WHL Senior, primarily with the Buckaroos, and would cement himself as one of the league's star players, as he played in 806 games over 14 seasons in the league and scored 97 goals and 406 assists for 503 points for his efforts. Though he was a productive player, Madigan was most notably known as one of the league's toughest cookies, in a time where hockey was full of enforcers, as Madigan would be willing to drop the gloves at a moment's notice, and wasn't known to lose many of his fights either. Madigan also earned a plethora of individual accolades during his minor pro career too, such as First Team All-Star in 1960, 1966, 1967, 1968 and 1969, Second Team All-Star in 1965, 1971 and 1972, as well as winning the award for the league's best defenseman in 1966. Though he had played consistently well over his career and had continued to shine as one of the best players in the minor leagues, Madigan had never been given the chance to play in the National Hockey League, to see whether he could stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the best players in the world. That is, until 1973. During the 1972-73 NHL season, the St. Louis Blues, who had joined the league just 5 years ago as part of the NHL's massive 1967 expansion, had been bitten by the injury bug and bitten bad. With so many of their roster players on the injured reserve list, and with the league's talent pool having been so depleted already over the last few years due to the league doubling in size overnight in the expansion, the Blues needed someone with veteran experience, strong knowledge of the game, and decent playing ability to suit up for their team for a few games and plug the holes in their lineup until their other players got healthy. After looking at his point production and how well he handled himself when the gloves were off, the Blues decided that Connie Madigan would be their guy. St. Louis promptly bought Madigan's contract rights from the Portland Buckaroos and placed Madigan in their lineup in January 1973. In doing so, Connie Madigan became the oldest player in league history to debut in the NHL at 38 years old, which also made him the league's oldest rookie ever. 15 years after turning pro, 15 years of patience and dedication plying his trade beneath the surface had all been worth it, as Madigan could finally say that he had played in the National Hockey League. Interestingly though, as Madigan took to the ice for the Blues, his reliable play impressed St. Louis's management so much that the team decided to keep the Canadian defenseman in their lineup for the remainder of the 72-73 season. Connie Madigan ended up playing 20 regular season games with the Blues that year, scoring 3 assists, notching 25 penalty minutes, and recording a plus-minus of +1 for his efforts. He also got to experience the NHL playoffs for the first and only time in his career too, as he played in 5 playoff games with the Blues, but he went scoreless in that span, and the Blues were eliminated 4-1 in the first round by the Chicago Blackhawks. Once the season had ended though, and the following season rolled around, the St. Louis Blues were no longer in need of Madigan's services, as their roster was healthy once more. So, they cut Madigan from the team. Madigan then decided it was only right that he return to the WHL Senior once more and pick up where he left off, as he spent most of the next 2 seasons with the Portland Buckaroos before hanging up his skates and retiring from playing professional hockey at the conclusion of the 1974-75 season. At the time of his retirement, the 40-year-old Madigan was second all-time in career penalty minutes in the WHL Senior with 1,846. This number still sits in the top 100 penalty minutes in the league, despite Madigan being retired for over 40 seasons. Though it took him a decade and a half to finally suit up in the National Hockey League, and whilst his stint in the Bigs was brief, considering how many games he played in his career, through hard work and much perseverance, Connie Madigan was able to achieve something that most hockey players and fans only ever dream of. He got the chance to play in the National Hockey League. The length of time it took to get there only makes the experience all the more sweeter. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, hard work really does pay off. Oh, and a fun fact for you just before we finish off. After retiring from hockey, Connie Madigan used his newfound spare time to grace the silver screen, as he played the legendary hockey goon Ross Mad Dog Madison in 1977's cult classic Slapshot. You learn something new every day, huh? And that was the story of the oldest player ever to debut in the NHL. What do you think about Connie Madigan's story? Also, is there another story from the NHL or another league around the world that you would like me to make a video on? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Andy, Chris Gadsby, Dave, David, Kalesbro, Martin Tolness, Matt DeWild, Max Artis, and Nat Marlowe, as well as a huge thank you to Cam Montgomery and Ryan Todd for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.